another episode of Mud and Blood Plays Coriolis. I'm your GM, Matt, and I'm joined, as always, by my three players.
I'm Adam. I play Kalia Al-Rufai. She's a chemical brother, and the preposterous captain of the One for Sorrow.
I am Charlotte. I play Luna. I am the one that puts people to sleep.
And I'm Nathan, playing Xanafar Il-Kadif, ship technician, engineer, currently not on the ship and wanting to go back. He is down on a planet.
If you're currently down on a planet, listeners, this is the show for you.
Okay, so we're picking up from last week with the three of you down on the planet of Jana. You're at the radiation spires at a research station, and you have found your contact, Samira Erakat, who has requested your presence indirectly through your patron, Ayan Antun. You didn't go through official channels to get to this research station. You kind of infiltrated it. And in the process, you have taken one of the scientists by, literally by the throat, and are trying to silence him while you believe a guard is about to come into the building. We have started combat with the end of the last session, and we're going to pick up here with round 2 of combat starting. So just
I'm actually trying to... Sorry, I think I was actually trying to fake out whoever was coming in.
Yep, you haven't had that chance yet. So we've gone through the entire list of who goes when in the first combat round. Mm-hmm. You definitely... So let me just lay the scene. Inside the building that you're in, Adam, Kalia is standing near the door with Samira. Mm-hmm. Charlotte, Luna is at the back of the building behind a desk, and she has Essam in a chokehold trying to knock him out. And Nathan Xanafar is just hiding behind the first desk near, like the desk nearest the door. With your grape gun, which is effectively a sci-fi shotgun, out and ready. So
yeah, that sounds right.
The point is, I think that you wanted to make is when the guard comes in, he's not necessarily going to see anybody armed and ready to kill. He's going to see Samira and Kalia, and if things go pear-shaped, then I guess the idea with Xanafar is that he can pop out and take a shot. Okay, just a quick note on that as well. You are in Overwatch, Nathan, with Xanafar, which means if you want, you can take a fast action. You have 1 action point left to potentially take a quick shot before the guard does anything on his turn, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm imagining it kind of like a Gears of War blind fire sort of thing.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna take it then to the start of round 2 of combat. And the first person to go is Essam. And Essam is currently being choked out. We did say in the last session, Luna, that you had effectively 1 full round you needed to be maintaining the chokehold for him to pass out. So so basically what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to roll we're going to roll an opposed strength roll right now, your strength versus his strength. And in fact, it's going to be a force. I'm going to make it a force roll. So just using raw force, he's going to try and pull your arms off of his neck, and you're going to try and continue holding him. Okay. And if he succeeds, then you're going to have to subdue him again. And there's going to need to be a full round with you having a chokehold on him before he's unconscious. Okay. Sound all right?
Okay. So just to recap, I roll my strength.
Sorry, it's strength plus force.
Yeah, I've got none of that just yet.
Okay, that's fine. In fact, this guy doesn't either, so it's just a straight up strength roll between the two of you. So go ahead and do that now.
And that would be 1 success.
Okay, I'm rolling for Essam, and he's also had 1 success. So unfortunately, so this is him rolling to break free, and he does need a full success over yours to be successful. So he takes effectively all of his turn to try and break the chokehold and doesn't succeed.
It's unfortunate for him, not for us.
Unfortunate for him, correct.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Mama said, knock
So
you out.
Luna, you're up next. I'm assuming you're just going to continue holding him for this round until he passes out, which is effectively going to happen now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, am I aware of the guard potentially coming in behind us? And aware of my surroundings enough to try and, I don't know, duck down even further to get out of the way?
Shift your bum around.
Why don't you give me an observation roll? And I'll let you have... you are aware of the general situation, so I'll let you have a +1 to this roll.
So that is me rolling 8 dice.
Oh, okay.
With 1 success.
Okay, that's a partial success. So you've overheard snatches. I mean, you're obviously your attention is fixed on Assam and trying to make sure that you can choke him out, like you don't let up. But you have been picking up you're kind of roughly aware of what's going on. You've got enough knowledge to know that the guard is possibly going to be coming in, and people are getting ready for someone to be coming in the door.
Enough to be aware, but not enough to actually be part of their total planning, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think not really. I don't want to get too meta with it, but yeah. I think you would have taken 2 of your 3 action points to finish choking out Assam, who's now unconscious on the floor. You have 1 more fast action, which could just be some sort of maneuver, like maybe you want to... you're already behind the desk, so maybe get your weapon out. You could do that for 1 action.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. I'll get my weapon drawn and ready to go. I'm going to keep hunkered down so nobody sees me.
Yeah, okay.
But, yep.
Sounds good. Okay, we move to the next person in the combat order, which is the guard. And you all hear with a beep and a click as the door opens up. And in steps a guard. It's the guard that you would have seen, Luna. In fact, you don't see anything, Luna, because you're crouching down behind the desk. But you do hear a beep and a click and the door opening. And I guess Kalia sees a guard step into the room. The guard is wearing a helmet with a visor plate, but the lower half of his mouth is open, kind of Judge Dredd helmet style. He's wearing dark blue uniform. It's a male, and he appears to be reasonably young, like probably 19, 20-ish. And as he steps in, he kind of does a quick scan of the room from left to right, and then you, Kalia, you're standing to his right. He notices you, and his hand is resting on a pistol holstered at his hip.
Now, here's what goes through my mind at this point.
You don't have a chance to say anything just yet.
Here's just what's going through my mind. I go through all my journalistic training, and I think to myself, this is the guard.
This is the guard.
This is the guard. This is a guard, this is.
Okay, well, that's profound. Okay.
Having established that this is the guard, we can proceed.
Okay, so the guard does all that, and I'm gonna say he's stopping in the doorway with his hand on his pistol, and I'm gonna put him in an Overwatch position, kind of. I'm gonna say he's gonna hold his turn with 2 action points remaining, which would allow him to draw his weapon and fire a quick shot if he needed to.
Okay.
And he barks out very quickly, "What's going on here? Who are you?"
Stakes are pretty high.
Yep, before we get to you, Kalia, next in the round is Xanathar. I'm imagining, Xanathar, you're just gonna go into Overwatch again?
Yeah, definitely. He's gonna give Peace a chance.
Okay, all good. So you've got 3 action points reserved for Overwatch, which is good. We then jump to Samira. Samira is going to try and sweet talk the guard using a manipulation roll. And here's what she says. Nothing to worry about. This is my friend, Kalia. She's here to visit. And nothing to worry about, friend. What was your name again? And I'm just going to roll her manipulation against the guard's manipulation.
Come on, Samira.
Her manipulation roll is 4 dice. Her reputation is 4 rungs higher than his. So she actually rolls 4 plus 4. So she rolls 8 dice. For no successes. Interesting.
Fuck!
I'm now going to... I mean, I don't really need to roll the guards because the guards... she hasn't succeeded. But I'll just see if he gets any successes above that, then I'm going to say it's going to go in the wrong direction for you guys. He doesn't have any manipulations, so it's just a straight up empathy roll, which is 3. And he's also rolled no successes. Okay, so He's not convinced. She hasn't succeeded at manipulating him into thinking everything's fine. He's still on alert. Nothing's changed. And she's going to basically hold her remaining, all of her actions. Talking is free. Manipulation does count as a full skill use, so it does count as 2 action points. And we jump to Adam, to Kalia.
I'm going to speak to him with a voice like silk. I'm going to say to Samira first, actually. Come now, dear, there's no need to misrepresent ourselves. I turn to the guard and I say, I am Samira's Auntie Munira, just in town for a flying visit. I don't see my niece as often as I'd like to. Our affairs in the syndicate, they keep me away from being at her side. You know how it is, I'm sure.
Okay, I'll give you a +1 to your manipulation roll.
Okay.
So you're going to roll your empathy plus your manipulation score, and then your reputation is 2 higher than the guard. He's got a reputation of 3. You've got a reputation of 5. So that's your empathy plus your manipulation plus 2, and then +1 for good role playing the manipulation element.
Okay.
So your manipulation score is 3. So that gives you a total of 8 for the base skill, 2 for the reputation is 10 +1. So you're rolling 11 dice against his 3.
11D, that's right. Is it?
Yeah.
3 successes.
Ooh, that's a critical success, but we need to see how many he rolls in reply. He's rolled 1 success. Now I am going to use a darkness point to have him push that roll.
Knockers.
First major re-roll for an NPC here. with none of them coming up 6s. So you've succeeded with 2 successes. Yeah, that's considered a partial success. And that's basically what happens. You kind of spin this yarn that you're her auntie coming to visit her, and
the syndicate, for anyone who's not au fait totally with the setting, are the mafiosos of this setting.
So the guard, when you mention the syndicate, the guard kind of, his ears perk up, and you notice him kind of shift uncomfortably, but he still keeps his hand on his pistol, and he responds to you saying, "Oh, well and good, Saiba, but that still doesn't mean you should be here. You should have checked in with us before you entered the facility." Do you guys want to act this out? Kind of pause the combat and kind of do the rest of this toing and froing?
Xanathar is currently trying to wonder how to make an appearance without like a shotgun in hand, so he's kind of just sweating, sitting behind the desk.
I mean, the way I see this is that both Luna and Xanathar are going to be have the opportunity to take 3, they're like a full turn in Overwatch before the guard can do anything. So it doesn't make sense to run through the entire turn order when we can just role play it out. If he draws a weapon, you won't be able to see that actually, but I guess Kalia could shout something out like to give the alarm. And then we could go straight back into combat and take it from the top of the round.
Sure. It seems like we've come back from the brink a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
And it would make sense to sort of see how this goes.
Okay, so let's do that. So he basically says that to Kalia that you should have signed in.
I wholeheartedly acknowledge your point, and I can tell you're very good at your job. I'm very sorry to. I would hate to believe I had caused you any trouble. As I say, just a flying visit to a dear relative.
Yes.
And conducted very, very briefly, very quietly. No one need know.
Listen, I unfortunately have to call this in, and I'm going to have to take you to reception to take your credentials and make sure that you're booked in properly. So if you'll accompany me, you can come back and speak to Samira after you're properly booked in. But this is a locked down scientific facility run by the Foundation, and no one is allowed to come here without checking in first. So if you'll accompany me, please, Saiba. And he steps to one side and opens his opposite arm in a gesture of saying, "This way, please."
Okay. It certainly seems very difficult to not comply. So I'm going to smoothly turn my head towards Samira as like, "Oh, what a bother. Won't you step down with me, keep me company while we just go and settle this minor administrative point, dear niece?" Okay,
so I guess I'm going to jump to Luna and Xanathar. Neither of you have weapons drawn that have any kind of stun setting on them. You're both using, lethal rounds. Do you want to try and stop this guard, or are you happy for him to leave the facility?
I think if he doesn't call for help, I think Xanathar is just gonna kind of like hide and not get drawn into the whole thing and complicate the matters. So basically,
He did say he was going to call it in.
yeah. So, but unless Adam's character kind of like calls out for help, he's gonna just let her kind of take the lead, and kind of thinking if he goes off with the guard, or if she goes off with the guard, that he can go and maybe like steal a vehicle while we're waiting for that to play out.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that while the guard is distracted with Kalia, then we can get in their vehicle, head to the front, and then have Samira go and grab Kalia to get her into the car.
Okay. Just to remind you, you guys do have comms between each other, so you can actually speak to each other when... obviously, Kalia, you're going to be in front of a guard, so it might be a bit hard for you to do that discreetly, but if you do want to try and communicate together, that is possible. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, so let's deal quickly with Kalia then, leaving the building with the guard and Samira in tow. You step out of the building. The guard exits behind you, and the door clicks shut as the guard steps down. And then the guard turns towards the middle of the facility, again holds his hand out and wants you to walk in front of him, Kalia. He says, "This way, please."
I make my way towards the door, and I say just fancifully out loud as me and Samira move towards the door. I appreciate you. You have a job to do.
I do.
There are rules that must be obeyed, etc., etc. I'm sure as soon as we return, I put just a little edge on my voice. I'm sure everything will be as we would expect it to be upon our return. And that's a little message to Luna and Xanathar to tidy this mess up, please. In the interim.
Okay. And then you step out and go the direction he's indicating?
Yep.
Okay. So back into the building as Kalia is being marched away. What do Luna and Xanathar want to do?
I need to find some way to hide the unconscious body long enough that it will draw attention for us to be able to get out of here. But I am coming up with a blank as to how to accomplish that.
So I think Xanathar, as soon as the door shuts behind the guard, the three that leave, he's gonna maybe head over to Luna, and he's got like his tools and stuff. I'm assuming there's some sort of futuristic equivalent to duct tape.
Well, actually, how long can we assume that he's going to be knocked out for?
I guess Xanathar can give me a metacurgy roll as a sort of knowledge test.
I don't think he actually cares. I think he just wants to bind him and leave him. If he wakes up, so be it. We're not going to be here for very long.
No, but I got an idea.
All right, so is she saying something to Xanathar then?
Yeah, I turn to Xanathar and ask him how long he thinks that this guy will stay unconscious for.
Okay, so I guess he'll glance down at the unconscious man, and you and a metacurgy roll then, Matt.
Yeah, why not? Straight up wits plus metacurgy.
So that's gonna be 6.
Okay.
All right, I got 3 successes.
Critical success. Okay.
Very good.
Do you want to tell me, how you're able to know exactly how long this guy's going to be out for?
Yeah, I think she had choked him out, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So he leans down and because he's got his med kit and like wrist computer, he just does a quick scan and comes up with 8.5 minutes.
8.5 minutes. Okay.
Yep. He's like, not long. Let's tie him up and gag him.
We got ourselves an 8.5er.
I haven't thought about introducing equipment, but I guess this is a science station. There'll be plenty of stationery lying around, and I suppose there would be some sort of duct tape at some point. So if you want to spend, let's say you spend about D6 minutes looking around to find something. I'll let you find it, but let's see how long it takes. So can one of you roll a D6, please?
All right, I rolled a 5.
Okay, so after 5 minutes of searching around the various desks and things, you do find some duct tape.
All right, so I like to bind him up, maybe stuff some wadding in his mouth and then wrap it around his head.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a quick job. We know he's he may even, his eyes might be starting to flutter. It's like kind of like wrapping up the whole chore.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep him like kind of like buried in the back of the room, far away from the door behind a desk or something as possible.
Yep.
Unless Luna's got another.
Is there a closet in the area?
There's no closets in the room, no. There's this kind of back half of the room which has a glass panel separating it, and there's like a door on one side, but it's not like a separate room with a hard wall that would hide his body.
Yeah, let's dump him and go. I want to get a vehicle and get Luna and get out of here. Or not Luna, Kalia, and get out of here.
I'd say it takes at least 2 full minutes to hogtie somebody with tape. So I'm going to say as you're finishing, he's awake. His eyes wide with terror as he realizes that you've effectively restrained him.
Yeah. I think Xanafar's going to kind of like hold 2 fingers to his lips, kind of like a shushing gesture. He's just going to kiss his fingers and stick it to the guy's forehead and kind of jostle his head as he like turns around and leaves the room.
Okay. Luna?
And I'm going to pat my sidearm so he knows what could happen if he doesn't keep quiet.
The funny thing is, this wasn't even his career path. This is just a stopgap.
Should have been a chef.
His life has been changed forever. Yeah, as soon as you turn your gaze to him, you see his eyes widen in absolute terror. You just basically pounced on him and choked him out. And when you tap your rifle, he nods extremely quickly as if to say, like, yes, don't worry. And he kind of slowly kind of like wiggles like he's trying to back away from you on the ground.
Okay, so at this point I can assume that we've got him taken care of. Let's go find a vehicle.
So as soon as you exit the door to this building, if you look to your left, you'd be looking, if you turn like 90 degrees to your left, straight ahead of you would be the hill that Nadir is behind, the Grav driver. Otherwise, if you turn to your right, if you turn to your right and then head around the corner of the building again, like take another hard right, that'll take you directly into the middle of the compound, which is the way that Kali was heading.
With Xanafar's Auspex or whatever it is that he has, does he have a schematic of the ground layout to help guide us to where?
No, I haven't. I've only been doing scans. I don't have any schematics or layouts. We can go deeper into the compound and keep a tab on Kalia and maybe find the hangar or the garage where the vehicles are.
I'd almost be willing to assume that he's taken them through the front door where there should be other vehicles waiting. So I'm almost thinking following them might be a way to go.
Don't forget, I'm just mentioning it because it has been several weeks since we recorded our last session, but there were cameras on most of the buildings.
Yeah, that's true. We disabled this one that's right around us though, right?
You disabled the camera that's above this door and the camera above the other building that you're at, but there were I think there were at least 4 buildings on this compound, and you haven't looked inside to see if there are any cameras pointing inside the compound itself.
Do we have any way to get a hold of the Grav driver?
I don't remember setting up any sort of thing. I think we just told him to wait there.
You can give me a darkness point to have, retrospectively, keyed comms to the same channel type of thing.
Exchange numbers.
Exactly. Would you like to do that?
What I'm thinking is if we can just get a hold of him and have us meet us at the front door. It's not like he's dropping anybody off. It would be legit for a taxi cab to come and pick somebody up from work.
So while she's stalking him on future Sci-Fi social media, Xanafar's kind of gone ahead to the right and peeking around the corner into the main compound, I think. He really wants to boost a car.
Okay, I'm taking a darkness point then, so I'm back up to 6 for, retrospectively having arranged that with Nadir. So you want him to drive up to the front of the building. He's not really happy to do that. Remember, he didn't want to come all the way to the facility. He says,
Look, Saber, I'd love to come pick you up and get paid. But when I get there, what should I say? No one is allowed at that base without an arranged interview.
Just tell them that you are here to pick up, what was her name, sorry?
Samira.
Samira's aunt.
Samira's aunt? Okay, Samira's the lady I was talking to, right?
No, that was Kalia that you were talking to. Yeah, Kalia is the mouthy one. Samira is who we're meeting here.
Ah, yeah, Kalia, right.
So we're going to have another passenger.
Okay, so I'm meeting Samira's aunt, yeah? Just want to get that right.
Correct. Yeah, when you get there, just say that you're here to pick her up. She should already be at the front desk or security waiting for a ride.
And, okay. And you want me to do that right now, or do you want me to leave it for a few minutes?
Right now.
Wait a few minutes and then start heading towards.
Why don't you call me when you're ready for me to get over there? It only take me a few minutes.
I'm going down to the front desk now.
he doesn't know that.
I'm just saying to Charlotte.
Yep, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Kalia can hear my side of the conversation, correct?
Can I?
Well, not necessarily. It's not like you have earpieces in and you're like secure, Secret Service or anything like that. You're gonna have to call Kalia and speak to him, and Kalia is not going to be able to necessarily just talk to you because she's right next to a guard.
Gotcha.
So before we jump back to Kalia, we'll just quickly say Xanathar peeks around the corner. You see that there are 4 of these long buildings like the 2 you've already entered in a kind of arranged in a sort of not quite, kind of an open square, but spread apart slightly at one end. So it's almost making like a pentagon. And at the point of the 5th point that isn't a long building, there is a much larger, different looking building. It's round in shape, and it's got 2 stories with a with the satellite dish on the top. And you can just see the guard and Kalia and Samira heading into that building. You also see above them, as they're approaching it, you see a camera pointing directly into the middle of the compound attached to that big building. And it's basically directly opposite you from where you are now. So it's straight across the compound. Okay, mull that over. We're going to jump back to Kalia. So Kalia, you are basically approaching this building. You're in front of the guard. And as you get to the building, the guard kind of steps up next to you, takes his pass out. And as you get to the building, he taps his pass to the control panel by the door. There's a beep and a click, and he pulls the door open and kind of nods his head towards the opening.
In she go.
Okay, you step in.
My arm is around Samira, possibly a little too tightly from tension.
So you enter the building with Samira. You see that there is a small corridor wrapping around the right-hand side of this building, which you I guess you walk along, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And you come to another door. The guard is just behind you. The guard, again, swipes his pass and opens the door for you, pushes it open ahead of you this time. And you enter the main part of this building, which is effectively, you can tell, is like a reception. There is a reception desk with a man sitting behind it, also wearing a guard's uniform but no helmet, and he kind of looks up at you as you enter. There are several plush chairs arranged around this area with some glass tables and some reading brochures, that sort of thing.
Fancy.
And there's a big holo display behind the reception guard, which is on a loop showing usual consortium propaganda type holovids.
I think to myself, what a beautiful lobby. I'd really hate to get shot in here.
Okay, the guard gestures you to his colleague, and as you step over, you can see the receptionist is looking at you with a furrowed brow.
I smile very broadly behind my face mask and shades.
Okay.
You can see the cheeks moving up.
Who are you?
My name is Munira Al-Farajan. I've been taken down here just to get signed in, just a formality, visiting my dear niece.
Munira Fajran.
Is there a register? Or...
Of course there's a register.
Terrific.
You're meant to be signing in before you even get anywhere near this facility.
I must apologize. I'm sure this is a lot of bother for you.
Oh, it's gonna be a bigger bother for you, Sahiba.
He looks down.
Because I don't have any planned visits by anyone today. You shouldn't even be here.
Well, we've established that with respect. It was just a flying visit.
Well, my young friend here doesn't necessarily know that when unauthorized intruders come onto a consortium facility, secure consortium facility, well, that's a very, very serious breach of protocol.
How serious are we talking, my man?
He picks up the equivalent of a comms unit, presses it to the side of his face.
Could I interrupt?
Yep.
My dear man, this is a brief visit to a dear relative. As I'm sure your young friend, greenhorner they may be, could tell you, it would be a great shame for an individual such as yourself placed at this lovely job, this lovely place of employment, perfectly findable. It would be a shame if you were to fall under the scrutiny of my contacts in the syndicate. I would like you to sign me in. I will take my leave of this place. My niece can walk me to the door, and there really needs to, in the sweetest simplest way possible. There really needs to be no further bother. And what I would like to do is I have the talent, the messenger can make someone obey you within reason once per session at the cost of a darkness point.
Okie doke. Yeah, that's a good one. Don't even need to roll for that. You invoke your talent then, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
His eyes narrow when you mention the syndicate.
Does he look to the younger guard and
No, he's staring straight into your eyes.
Right.
You can see his jaw clenching, and he's kind of frozen there staring at you as you're talking after you've mentioned the syndicate.
Let's not be silly.
And then you see his hand slowly lower down and put the comms unit back on the desk. Well. Friends in low places, is it?
I tilt my head in acknowledgement.
Well then, I think I know what's best for me and my young friend here. And that is just to pretend you were never here, right, Sahiba?
Whatever you think is best.
Yeah. Why don't you just make yourself scarce?
With pleasure. Come along, dear.
Okay. You don't write your name. He doesn't push you to write your name in a register or anything like that. He just is kind of like watching as you go to the door with Samira. You get to the door and you step outside. You're now on the outside of the facility. And what do you want to do? Do you want to call somebody?
Yeah, can I call a cat? If we've established that we exchanged details earlier, can I call Nadia?
Sure.
I do so.
All right, I'll be there shortly.
Thank you. I, with shaking fingers, I hang up the phone.
Okay.
And replace it in my tremblingly in my pocket.
Okay, so while you're waiting at the basically the front entrance, there are no vehicles there. Actually, there's like an area where people can park vehicles, but there are no vehicles there currently.
Can I just point of order? We are gonna I'm walking away. Me and Samira are walking away at a walking pace from the facility.
Okay, so you're not waiting there. You're walking away up the road. Okay,
yeah.
You're walking up the road away from it then.
I've told Nadia this.
Fine. Okay. Let's cut back to Luna and Xanathar.
Does that mean that they'll be doubling back towards us, or are they walking
away from you?
Okay. We caught the communication that he's on his way, and we basically need to meet up with them without being discovered, perhaps, or just get discovered as we're already leaving.
Okay. The guards haven't seen you yet, so
Right.
As far as they're aware, there's only one intruder on this facility.
Right, but if they do see us, then if we're on our way out, then I guess I don't care too much, or Xanathar doesn't. I think Xanathar's gonna look to Luna and see what she thinks.
Basically, Xanathar is planning on just walking, I guess, to the front of the facility to join Kalia. Is that right?
Yeah, I think at this point, cutting to the middle of the compound doesn't make sense. So I think Xanathar is probably going to want to maybe go back out the left way towards the hill and maybe kind of follow the outside edge of the buildings and try and avoid being caught on camera. Basically trying to stealth out by not going through the middle of the compound.
So go back out the way that we came.
Well, sort of. You're going to one of the other buildings that you've already disabled the 2 cameras on, and then skirting around the buildings to make your way to the front.
Sounds good. I'm in.
You will be going past another building that you haven't been to yet, plus the main facility, which probably both have cameras, so you'll probably be picked up on camera by doing that.
How much of a distance is there between those cameras and where we'll get picked up at?
I mean, you're skirting the building, so theoretically they're pointing more to pick up people coming directly towards the buildings. So like you've done with the other ones, you could kind of sidle your way up to the control panels under the cameras and disable them that way.
Yeah, I think that might be our best bet.
You don't even need to disable them. You can just kind of sidle past them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You'd have to disable the last one on the main building as you're walking away if you don't want them to see you suddenly pop up on their cameras in front of the building.
Yeah, I like that plan. I'll leave that to Xanathar to do the disabling and whatnot.
So we'll just say it takes you about 5 minutes or so to kind of skirt your way to the main building. You're able to sidle your way past the one camera you haven't disabled on a third building, and then you're at the big round building that you saw earlier on the side. And as you sidle your way around this round building to the front, you realize, as looking up, you see that there is indeed a camera pointing directly towards the kind of parking area in front of the building where the road comes in. And you cannot see Kalia. It's been 5 minutes since she was walking away, and it's hilly terrain. So Kalia's nowhere to be seen.
You ring me?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, I think Xanathar is just going to stop out of view of the cameras and just kind of like wait at the entrance, assuming that all this stuff is going to play out if he just waits.
Actually, let's do this slightly differently. You're starting to make your way around the round building, but before you can even get near it, I'm going to say about the front, maybe 120-degree angle of the round building is glass, pointing towards the front of the pointing towards the entrance. So you can't really, you can't really just sidle your way across without, sidling along glass. So the people inside would be able to see you.
Okay, so I think maybe we'll just pull up on the near side of the glass front, and we're just gonna kind of wait. And once, assuming our ride shows up, then we'll make a break for it. And if we get spotted, fair enough. I think that's what Xanathar's plan is.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that one. I don't really see this going any other way.
Otherwise, we just fight our way in and steal a car. So this seems a little bit less risky.
Okay. You call Kalia and let her know what you're doing. Kalia, you meet up with Nadir, just past the facility on the other side of the hill.
Up pulls the Icon Mobile.
Yep, he gets his grav van, as I'm calling it, up, pulls up to you. You get in, and then he heads directly back towards the facility.
Nadir, Samira, Nadir.
Okay, and Samira doesn't really say anything. Nadir just nods to her with a kind of a smile, and then he drives you over to the facility. He kind of pulls up right in front, and I guess, yep, Xanathar and Luna, you're just gonna kind of jog in.
So he's already picked up Kalia and Samira. Yeah, I think Xanathar just looks to Luna and says, "Okay, let's do this. Casual." No, I think he's gonna just kind of put it away and we're just gonna casually walk and just get in. But if we raise an alarm, then maybe we'll just sprint and make a break for it. But
okay.
Is that a rifle in your pants, or you just happen to see me? My weapon cannot be sheathed like that.
No. Your weapon cannot be hidden. It's too big. It's an accelerator rifle. It's a pretty big weapon. However, Xanathar has a sawn-off grape gun, which he could theoretically kind of hold to his side, like along his leg, and keep that pointed away from the building.
yeah, he's definitely doing that.
Yep. Okay, so you make your way to the grav van. You don't hear any alarm being raised. I guess you're trying to look casual, so you're not looking back or anything. But you don't hear anything. You don't hear any doors being opened or anyone shouting or anything. You get into the grav van, which is pretty close to you anyway. And as soon as you hop in, Nadir says, "Is that it? Can we be off?"
Yalla!
Yeah, let's go.
Dabra. He puts his foot to the accelerator, and the van accelerates away from the facility. As you look back, you notice somebody standing in the doorway wearing one of the guards. It's the older guard without the helmet, standing in the doorway of the facility, kind of watching, hands on his hips. And then you disappear around the corner.
Born to be wild.
So it's going to take you an hour to get back to the city of Namas. And it's now getting dark as well. So it's just it's just kind of like the tail end of dusk. There's just a tiny bit of light, but this time you're on a road, so it's easy to see where you're going. Anything you want to do while you're in the car for this hour? Do you want to chat to anyone?
I read a sign that is on the outskirts of the city. It says, "Welcome to Namas. Stay."
Do we have the camera with us, or is that still on the ship?
We brought it with us.
I didn't mention it earlier. I'm assuming that when Kalia was hiding, waiting for the guard to come up, you would have kind of tucked the camera with Xanathar behind the desk.
Yeah, I was assuming I had it stowed in the back of my pack or something.
Well, it's massive. It's kind of a backpack of its own, but yeah.
Yeah.
Would now be a good time to start getting her story out of her while we're driving?
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Xanathar is going to start asking her questions.
Okay. With his 2 empathy and no social skills whatsoever.
Let the boy have a go.
Okay, so you get let's paint the scene first. You're kind of in the back of this van. You get this massive camera out, turn it on, and it's kind of right in her face because there's not a lot of room in here. And then what do you say?
Yeah, so I think it's about time you tell us why you called for us to come get you.
I lean over and whisper to her, "He's work experience. Please indulge him."
he just kind of slings to the back and just starts staring at a screen and just backs out of the conversation.
Okay. Her brow furrows a little bit.
Well, I wanted to speak to Ion, really, but I suppose if he wants it recorded, that that it can't hurt. What will you do with this recording? Because this has the potential to really be damaging for me and to really complicate things for me later on.
She knows we're journalists, right?
No.
Okay. Who does she think we are?
She knows that you work for Ion. You told her that you were here to meet her. Ion had basically, she had some information for Ion, and he was sending some people to collect her, basically.
Okay. Who does she reckon Ion is? Because my understanding of Ion is that he is someone who's positioning himself as a media mogul.
Indeed, but he knows he has a prior relationship with her.
Okay. So as a friend.
Well, you don't know the nature of that relationship, whether it's like a family friend or what it is, but she's a little bit older than him. Probably a good 6 or 7 years at least older than him. And he's like what, 17, 18, did we say, or 16 even?
I think we may have even gone as low as 15.
Yeah. Okay. So 15 or 16. So he's quite young, and she's in her like early to mid 20s. So make of that what you will in terms of like close friendships, etc.
She could be like an auntie figure almost.
Maybe. He didn't tell you, and she hasn't told you either.
Sure.
All that you know is that he did mention that it was kind of someone had contacted him about this, and he had implied that it was a friend.
I'm going to say to Samira, it's funny you get asked to do all sorts of things when you work for these trillionaires, octillionaires, etc. They've got all these odd habits. He's got all these odd habits pertaining to hygiene. And he's got his new kick is documentation. He doesn't want to lose anything. His mental state is not quite what it was, and he likes to. He's surrounded by yes men all day. He's surrounded by people who gaslight him and try and make him do things that aren't in his best interests. He likes to have records of everything so he can remind himself why he's doing what he's doing. I appreciate it's very irregular, but I hope you will indulge us, sort of as odd a bunch as we are. We do have your best interests at heart. And behind my back, out of her sight, I'm doing air quotes around best interest.
She nods, and she kind of, her lips quirk up a bit when you're talking about his eccentricities. And then you mention that he's wants to keep records of he's kind of untrusting, and he wants to keep records of people that he deals with. She kind of sighs and says, well, it sounds like he still acts like a young, spoiled child. Well, let me tell you then. I guess I'll tell you on camera. I'm a researcher here at Jana, and we're researching these spires, the radiation spires as they're called. And effectively, these spires emit a powerful burst of radiation at what seems like random times. They spread for about 9 kilometers in a circle around the spires. And we've been trying to figure out why they're happening. So we've been looking at recording when they happen, trying to find correlations, and we found some results. Initially, this was a few segments ago, and just recently, we made an even bigger connection. The first thing we discovered was that every time the radiation spires pulsed, they're pointing directly at Jibri. Jibri is the blue gas giant here in the Melik system. But it wasn't consistent. These two planets, Jana and Jibri, they cycle around the sun here in Melik, and as they go through their orbits, they are pointing at each other multiple times in the cycle of an orbit. And it doesn't pulse every time they meet each other. And they don't pulse every time that the spires are pointing at Jibri. And what we just realized, there were 2 things we just realized recently. The first was they pulsed every time the spires were pointed at the spot on Jibri. There is a dark spot on that gas giant. And every time Jibri was aligned so that the spot was pointing towards Jana in its orbit, the radiation spires would pulse. That is very curious indeed. There seems to be a link between these two planets. The other thing that we realized, or that we discovered, was that last cycle, there was an enormous pulse of radiation. So enormous, in fact, that several of the scientists in the facility received fatal doses of radiation and died. This was before I was brought here. We had never recorded, since the Foundation has come to Jana and started researching these radiation spires, we have never encountered anything of this magnitude. The pulses had always been a consistent level of radiation. That's why we built this facility exactly where we built it. And what we realized was that when this massive pulse of radiation happened was on the exact day that the emissaries arrived here in the horizon. When she says that, you hear Nadir driving, takes a very sharp intake of breath. Yes, she says. Okay, so that's the little tidbit of information she wanted to pass on.
Right, so could we, not for our benefit, because obviously we know, but for the viewers' benefit, what are the emissaries?
So, yeah, that's a good question. I think we mentioned them briefly in session 0 when I'm giving a huge amount of setting information in a very short period of time. So in this setting, you have 9 icons, which are effectively like gods. It's never made clear in the game whether they're real or not, but people certainly worship them as if they're real, and praying to them allows you guys to re-roll, etc. About a year ago, which is a cycle in how the calendar is called here, from a different gas giant in the Kua system, there were a group of people who suddenly came out of the gas giant to a research station that was in orbit around this gas giant and claimed that they were emissaries to the icons. They then one of them stayed on the station there at the Kua station, at the station in Kua. One of them went back to the Coriolis station, the seat of everything that happens in this setting. And the rest of them, I think there were 5 of them. The other 3 of them just went their own way. And when the emissary that went to the Coriolis station arrived, quite famously, everybody in the Horizon knows about this, this emissary declared himself to be the icon, the judge in flesh. And that's basically, everybody knows about that.
Kalia sort of breathes, Kimada.
And then Xenophar looks over and makes eye contact with Clea and says, "We got it all."
I turn to Samira and I say, is there any kind of working theory about what the nature of the thing in the black spot, what we might call the receiver of the pulse in Jibri, what that might be?
Well, we only made this connection, I don't know, it must have been only last segment. And of course, working for the Foundation, we've relayed this immediately to our superiors. And there is a station owned by the consortium in orbit around Jibri. So I would imagine that the Foundation has sent some scientists there to see what's going on and to maybe do a little bit of research of their own. Other than that, I can't say. I was not made privy to any plans to pursue this further. We found out this information and we passed it on as you would expect.
Yes, of course. Well, I think it's important we get you back to Ion as soon as humanly possible.
I would appreciate that. I think I'm going to have to go into hiding now. I've just left my post, which is, this is going to make my life, it's going to change my life completely, I'm afraid.
You're a very brave young woman, I say with, Kalia says with all sincerity.
Thank you.
From the back, I pipe up a bit. Well, you can always come with us.
Wow, go with you. Where are you going? I thought you were going back to Ion.
We are. Doesn't mean that you need to stay there with him. We are essentially on the run ourselves in a way. We jump from place to place. We have no fixed address. Nobody can find us unless they really start looking for us. We can always use help on the ship.
I'm a scientist. I don't know how much use I would be on a ship, but
I say to her, none of us are any use on the ship, so you'd fit right in.
Oh, okay. If you say so. Okay, so you continue. As you're having this discussion with her and she's telling you everything, you're getting closer and closer to Namas, and effectively, it's fully dark by the time you pull in, and by the time you get in, and Nadir drives you back to the market where he picked you up, and he kind of pulls over to the side of the road that he's on. He says,
Okay. Do you want me to just drop you here, or do you want me to take you somewhere else? Sounds like you want me to take you back to your ship, maybe.
That would be much appreciated.
Yeah, the spaceport. Let's go.
All right, yeah.
as he then continues on his journey, he starts chatting to you, and I'm not going to do the whole conversation because we're kind of coming to the end of this episode, but he basically lets you know that he overheard what Samira was saying, and he wants you to definitely, or he thinks that you should definitely take her away and try and use her information as much as possible to hurt the consortium.
Right.
Anyway, he pulls up at the spaceports about 10 minutes later, and turns in his seat at the front to look back at all of you.
Okay, I'm afraid it's time to divvy up what you owe now. 300 burr, please. It's a bargain.
I can agree with that. You've done us a wonderful service here today.
I hand over the tab that I have on me with some burr on it and let him process it.
Yep. Just to remind everyone, you had a tab with 900 burr on it that you looted from the one of the pirates. So you hand that tab over to him. He taps it onto his tab and hands it back, and you just do a quick check, and there's 600 on it. So he's taken 300 burr off of the tab. And as you're getting out of, he then unlocks the doors. Typical taxi fashion, he'd lock the doors before you paid. You hear the locks disengage, and as you're stepping out, he calls out, "Ikuna Hafiz."
In Shaikuna, I say to him, I want you to know that the hand of history is on your shoulder here today, Nadir. You've dealt a blow to the consortium that they won't soon forget.
Ha! I can only hope so. Danya Sahiba.
And Danya to you.
Okay, you are at the spaceports, and they want some money as well to effectively... They've held your ship there.
Everyone's take today.
Oh, yeah.
Just grease the skids and get out of here.
Yeah, and they want... I'm going to roll a D3 to see how many 100 burr they want. It's not going to be a huge amount, but we'll just make it random. Oh, and I rolled a 3 on the D3. So they want 300 burr for you for restoring your ship.
All the nobility and graciousness that I just managed to muster up dissipates, and I swear... I pace and swear as Luna deals with the tab.
And again, I begrudgingly hand over the tab and let them do their thing. Contemplate shooting them.
Your 900 burr is reduced to 300. This is a good point, just before we stop for this week. This is a good point to mention something that I keep forgetting to mention in every episode, but something that I wanted to introduce at the beginning of the campaign, which is that the way this game handles restocking your ship as you're traveling around the horizon is that depending on the cost of your ship, there is a fee that you have to pay every time that you're basically in port to restock things like water, perishables, fuel, all that kind of stuff. And if you don't do it, then you start getting like penalty dice anytime you're doing anything with the ship. So what I wanted to say is your patron, Ion, will be aware of this, and he's sending you around to kind of do some investigative journalism. I would have said he would have given you the equivalent of like an American Express kind of card that you can use to, if you need to grease the skids, you can use that. But he's made it very clear on the proviso that that money will have to be repaid back, and it will go back onto your debt that you owe for the ship. So if you need to spend a few thousand burr on outfitting your ship, you can use that if you haven't got the cash in hand, bearing in mind that will go straight onto your tab.
Okay.
And he would have given that to you, Kalia, I think.
Okay. Ooh,
he's hired you as a journalist to do some like journalism. So as far as he's concerned, you're in charge of this expedition, regardless of whether that's the case or not.
He's going to pay
But
for all my special journalistic supplements.
He's gonna hold you. Yeah, he's gonna hold you to account for any expenditures. So, just bear that in mind.
Journalism petrol.
Bear that in mind. And while you're here at the spaceport, do you want to outfit your ship, or do you want to like get some supplies? They can be loaded into the shuttle, for example, and you can take them back to the ship.
But I suppose now that you've gone into it, it would be remiss of us not to. So let's do it, baby.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it sounds good, because we're going to start making our long trip back, I think, at this point, right?
Yeah, Xanathar wants to get back to the ship.
We've still got all these Fujis to drop off as well.
Okay. It's going to cost you 2,500 credit to stock the ship, to service the ship at this port. So you hand over your American Express Black Card, or the equivalent that you've got.
Coriolis Express.
Yep.
Emissary Express.
Coriolis Express. Emissary Express. Pay for the servicing, and I'll add that to your total debt. Okay. You then hop in the ship and with Samira, and a short while later you are out of orbit and docking the shuttle back with the one for Sorrow. And you're all on board. Everything's when you get there, I mean, the ship is still there. There's no alerts. It's not on fire. There's no other ship docked with it, anything like that. And with that, we're going to stop for this week.
Born to be wild.
Thanks for listening to Mud and Blood Plays Coriolis. Our players can be found on Twitter. Adam is playing Kalia and has the handle Adam Attley, Attley. Charlotte is playing Luna and has the handle Foxfire22. That's fire spelt Fyre. Nathan is playing Xanathar and has the handle Script and Verse. Our intro and outro music is the track Valraven by Danish musician Danheim. Ambient music is from the Emmy Award-winning Tabletop Audio. Join us next week for the next installment of Fear and Loathing in the Third Horizon.